Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health TV and radio show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you're notified every week with my new podcast on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you haven't already, join my free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There is no downside. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health. I answer your questions, and you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey in addition to truly taking control of your health. My goal is to reach everyone on earth with eyes to see and ears to hear my message of healing, and I cannot do it alone. Help me with that goal and share this podcast with a few of your friends who may need my help, especially this one. We are talking about hypothyroidism and how to manage your low thyroid function. It seems like in the last 3-4 years, there's been a true pandemic and this exponential increase in hypothyroidism, people experiencing suboptimal metabolism, unexplained weight gain, and there isn't just one cause for this trend, but many causes. And people are just saying, Sara, my diet hasn't changed. My exercise hasn't changed. I'm actually working out more. My cholesterol levels are up. My insulin levels are up. My blood sugar's up. My thyroid's down. What is going on? So first of all, let's talk about what symptoms to look for. It is to know if you have low thyroid function. And I won't forget sitting down with one of my very best friends, and she's working out more and she's gaining weight and her hair's falling out. And she says, I say, have you asked your doctor about your thyroid? Have you done a blood test? She says, yes, my doctor says it's normal. Well, that's the problem. They're not testing the full panel. So you need to take control of your own health and look at the symptoms. And in your gut, you know when you are right versus the doctor. So fatigue, that is the first symptom. Persistent tiredness, general lack of energy. The metabolic process slows down, affecting your mental, physical energy. Thyroid hormone plays a role in oxygen utilization by the cells. So if this is compromised, fatigue will occur and you might be sleeping fine, but you're still tired. That weight gain, that unexplained weight gain or difficulty losing weight despite maintaining a healthy diet and exercise. And you're probably cutting your calories even more, which is then another stressor. And we're going to get to that in a minute. The thyroid hormones influence that metabolic rate. It is your metabolism, and that rate will slow down, leading to a reduced ability to burn calories and convert food into energy. And it plays a role, the hormones play a role in regulating the breakdown of fats. So maybe you're eating the same foods, maybe it's even a low fat diet, but your body's not breaking down those fats and they're being stored much more easily. And then on top of that, you might have an increase in appetite and a loss of muscle. You might be thinking, I have no energy. I'm going to eat more for that energy, and it's not working. And this is going to maybe deter you from engaging in the exercise, which is obviously going to compound the issue. You are getting so frustrated. Why should I even try, right? And then you go and you open the freezer for the Ben and Jerry's. And then it's this vicious cycle. So cold sensitivity. Are your hands and feet always cold? Usually if everyone else is in the room and they're wearing short sleeves and you're like wearing a puffy jacket and you can't get that blood flow to your extremities, that's because your body is going to keep the heat in around your organs, right? And not worry about the hands and the feet. Well, it has been shown that the basal metabolic temperature for most people has decreased by 1 to 2 degrees over the last 20, 30 years. That's not normal, people. We're supposed to be at 98.6, and we're not. So the thyroid hormones also affect the thickness of the skin and the distribution of subcutaneous fat. So there may be a thinning of the skin and a decrease in this fat, which will make you feel more cold. And that hypothyroidism can also lead to the reduced heat production by the body cells. I know when my thyroid turns on, I get this flash of like heat, and it's like, okay. And I don't just feel it in my extremities, I actually feel it in my gut, because my metabolism is like ready to burn some food. And that's also a sign in me that I can feel. You might experience dry skin and hair, your hair falling out, rough, pale skin, brittle hair that breaks easily. The thyroid hormone influences the sweat gland activity, and the sebaceous glands help moisturize the skin. The thyroid hormones are essential for the regeneration of skin cells. So if you don't have a good functioning thyroid, you might get flaky, dry skin. You might be have constipation. So not only is your whole energy lacking and you can't go work out, or you are tired all the time, well, your bowels are tired too. Slower digestive processes are going to cause that constipation, and the muscles are tired. And hypothyroidism can lead to that decreased gastrointestinal motility, meaning the muscles in the digestive tract move more slowly, and the slowdown can result in a delayed transit of stool through the intestines. Thyroid hormones also affect the secretion of the digestive juices and enzymes, leading to insufficiency in these juices and lacking in that softening of the stool. So you might have dry, hard stool that actually is coming out instead of softening stool. The thyroid can also affect water absorption in the intestines, leading to those hard stools. Now, you also might have that fluid retention. Can't get the rings off the finger, leading to puffiness, slow lymph, slow everything, puffy face around the eyes. That edema is part of a slow thyroid. Muscle weakness and joint pain, weakness in the muscles, arms, legs. That might be a loss of muscle tone, puffiness in the body and the face. That's all associated with hypothyroidism. Hoarseness in the voice. Change in the voice can be a symptom of hypothyroidism, because particularly the thyroid hormone T3 plays a role in the normal function of the larynx and the vocal cords. So when there's an underproduction of thyroid hormones, it can lead to hoarseness, voice fatigue, reduced pitch range, dry throat, low voice projection. So you can tell what's going on with your thyroid by just listening to your voice. Depression. Okay, so I really want to get into this, because you might have feelings of sadness, depression associated with your hypothyroidism. Did you know that most people are put on antidepressants for their depression, when in actuality, they are just suffering from hypothyroidism? Giving them thyroid supplements that we'll talk about in a minute are going to actually maybe get them off of their antidepressants. Thyroid hormones play a role in regulating the neurotransmitters such as serotonin and norepinephrine, which influence the mood. And the reduced metabolic activity will affect so many things going on in the body, including the energy production, fatigue, lethargy, and lack of motivation, right? So what's going on is you have this cycle where, okay, so you're stressed out because your thyroid isn't working and you don't have energy, right? So that's going to cause even more problems with your thyroid, because your T4, your main hormone that is inactive, right? It needs to be converted into free T3 to be usable. But because of stress or a backed up liver, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that conversion might not happen. And then what's worse is if you're stressed and you're in survival mode, because the body doesn't know if you're being chased by a tiger, if you're going to have a famine, or if you're just stressed because of modern day stressors, right? Then that T4 is going to convert into reverse T3 as a stress response. When that happens, blood sugar increases, cortisol increases, metabolism slows down, hypothyroidism symptoms will occur. The HPT axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, and the HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, are closely interacting and playing off each other in response to stressors. In other words, as stress increases and the adrenals release the stress hormones like cortisol and epinephrine, the HPT axis will start converting T4 into reverse T3, slowing down the metabolism, and your mood's going to decrease. And then that's going to increase stress and more, because if you have no energy and your stressors go up, what happens to your mood? It goes down. So then it's this vicious cycle. And it's actually this thyroid stress cycle that you get in, where you're so stressed out on top of the normal daily stressors because your thyroid isn't working. You're getting this excess weight gain, your hair's falling out, your skin is flaky and getting old looking. All of these things are going on. So what else is happening is that you're having an increase in inflammation and oxidative stress. So the neurotransmitters, GABA, dopamine, and serotonin, are made in the gut. Well, if the gut is compromised because of the stress, right? Stress, as we've learned from Karan Krishnan, who's been on the show talking about the gut, stress can cause leaky gut. If you've got leaky gut or gut issues, then you're not making those GABA, dopamine, and serotonin happy hormones to make you feel good. And the liver is where the T4, most of the T4 is converted into free T3. Well, the liver is being backed up by so many issues we're going to get into in a minute. And that is not going to happen. So what else happens, though, is that if the liver's backed up, that is where we store our anger and frustration. So then you're going to be even more stressed and angered and depressed because you've got this stored, trapped frustration and anger. The adrenals are closely related to the thyroid. Remember, the thyroid is the master endocrine gland. The adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. When you're chronically stressed, the adrenals will cause the kidneys that are holding them to become inflamed and retain excess water. So then that's going to cause even more problems. So you can see where there's this thyroid stress, that emotional state characterized by extreme apprehension, discomfort caused by the challenges of having hypothyroidism. And then, of course, because the thyroid is the master endocrine gland, it's going to affect your gonads and your sex hormones. So you might feel even more stressed because your testosterone's low and your estrogen is in imbalance, and you have some of those issues too in the bedroom, or just not feeling good, right? And you're not able to build that muscle because you don't have enough testosterone. Okay, another symptom besides the depression. The depression is a huge one, and you may have never had depression before. Get your full thyroid panel done before getting put on an antidepressant. Okay, so that is the most important thing, I would say, from this whole talk today. You might have memory and cognitive issues, just concentrating, mental fogginess, that brain fog. Not only is the body lacking physical energy, but it's lacking that mental energy. And we're going to talk about the one supplement that is causing brain fog and thyroid problems, and that being iodine. It's no mystery why iodine is so amazing for brain fog and thyroid, and how those symptoms are connected. You might also have menstrual irregularities. So many women, especially due to the spike protein in the last 3 years, are having worsened PMS symptoms, infertility, and worsened menopausal symptoms. Irregular or heavy menstrual periods in women are a symptom of having hypothyroidism. The thyroid is that master endocrine gland, helps control that hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis. So just like I mentioned, it controls the sex hormones. It's going to make your menstrual cycles worse. It can cause changes in your cycle being shorter, longer, amenorrhea, heavier bleeding, worsening PMS symptoms, and like I mentioned, that fertility. So we think about the spike protein. We're going to get into that in a minute. That's affecting everything in the body, including our thyroid and our hormones. So those things are definitely connected. You also might experience a slower heart rate than normal. The thyroid hormones are affecting the function of the heart and the blood vessels. When the thyroid hormones are low, heart may pump blood at a slower rate, in addition to contracting less forcefully. That's why you might get dizzy or lightheaded, or why your fingers and toes are cold, right? You might actually have high cholesterol levels. Hypothyroidism is associated with higher levels of cholesterol, and maybe it's coming out of nowhere, right? You haven't changed your diet. It helps with the lipid regulation of the lipid or fat metabolism, and so many people are suffering from fat metabolism in the last 4 years. You got to love your liver. The liver is where the thyroid hormones convert, and also where the body is metabolizing fat and protein. So when we're insufficient, it can change the way the body processes and manages cholesterols. You might have muscle cramps, particularly in your legs. That hypothyroidism can affect the blood flow to the muscles, in addition to the electrolyte balance in the body, both of which can lead to muscle cramps. And it can also lead to nerve dysfunction, and this can contribute to muscle cramps. And I mentioned the swelling and the edema. Well, you might have this puffy face. It's due to the overall lack of circulation and fluid balance in the body. The skin might become thicker and swollen due to the accumulation of the complex sugars in the connective tissues, and that happens especially in the face. So what are the causes? What do we do about this? Iodine deficiency, guys. Iodine is essential. Iodine is the T3 and T4 and T2. Those are the thyroid hormones. That 3, 4, and 2 stand for molecules of iodine. So how can you have happy thyroid hormones without the 3, 4, and 2 molecules of iodine? A lack of iodine in the diet is the number one cause of hypothyroidism. 96% of the United States is iodine deficient. We've got people out there saying that you should not be taking iodine if you're hypothyroidism. Not true, guys. The studies are totally confused. And on my website, look up the article discussing iodine blood accuracy facts, blood test accuracy facts. And I go through all the studies and where we got this wrong. So it does matter what kind of iodine you're getting, because a lot of iodines are coming from the Asias, which have been radioactive or exposed to Fukushima and the spillings, or Chernobyl and the other nuclear explosions. So you do need to be careful where you're getting your iodine. But that is the number one cause. Now, remember what I said about iodine. It also helps with brain fog. I've had so many people saying, Sarah, why am I so happy now? My brain fog's gone. And they haven't changed anything except for getting themselves on iodine. Iodine disruptors are a big cause of hypothyroidism. And this is something that our ancestors didn't really have to deal with. But environmental toxins known as iodine disruptors, like fluoride, bromide, chlorine. I had a child, my son was in the pool every day for 3 hours a day playing water polo. I was so happy when he quit. And then it was time to help him kick out and get all that chlorine out of his body. But even if you're not a water polo player, we are getting chlorine and fluoride and bromide through our food and our water at levels that we don't even know what to do with. So that is the most obvious example, but there's other chemicals found in fertilizers, drinking water, and they competitively inhibit iodine uptake by the thyroid and all 100 trillion cells in the body. Every cell in the body, not just the thyroid, has thyroid hormone receptor sites, right? So if you're deficient in iodine, and that fluoride comes in, the bromide comes in, the chlorine comes in, even when we're trying to eat all organic and we've got water filters and all of that stuff, we're getting it in our body. If we don't have enough iodine in the cells, those molecules, those atoms of chloride and fluorine and bromide look just like iodine. Go back to the halogens on your periodic table from chemistry in high school. You'll see that those molecules look the same. So then what happens? Those molecules find that little place in that receptor site where the iodine's supposed to go, and it attaches. And these toxins are what lead to chronic disease, cancers, and everything else. So when the cells are iodine deficient, those find the place and fill those receptor sites. This is not only going to disrupt thyroid function and slow the metabolism, but it's also going to disrupt all cellular function throughout the body and lead to those chronic diseases. Endocrine disruptors. So some toxins are known as endocrine disruptors. They interfere with the normal functioning of the endocrine system and the thyroid, and that would include pesticides, plastics, BPA, industrial chemicals, a lot of things. And this is also what is also going to cause estrogen dominance, because a lot of these toxins mimic estrogen in the body and lower that testosterone and increase the levels of the bad estrogens in the body and give you estrogen dominant symptoms. And I've talked about that in the past as well. So heavy metals, exposure to the heavy metals, lead, mercury, those have been associated with thyroid dysfunction. They love to attach themselves to the thyroid. These metals interfere with the synthesis and the secretion of the thyroid hormones. Then you've got the PFCs found in some nonstick cookware, waterproofing agents, all of these things. You guys, I know it's overwhelming. I know we have to look at our foods and our household products and our water filters and all of these things. And I even have my husband says, Sarah, we're doing everything. Can't I just use this dish soap that's Cascade? No, you don't want to be using something with toxins on it that you're washing your dishes that you're actually going to be eating food on, right? So there's so many things, and I understand it gets overwhelming, but unfortunately, that is the world we live in. Radiation. Exposure to radiation, whether it's from medical treatments, environmental sources, or our cell phones, right? I've got one. You've got one. I'm in front of a big computer at the moment. All of this radiation is going to rattle our brain, cause stress on top of the real stress we have. What does stress do? Puts you in survival mode, increases the conversion to reverse T3, suppresses the mood, causes depression and anxiety, which is going to further put us in survival mode, maybe lead us to eat foods that we shouldn't, which are going to suppress the thyroid even more. And it's this cascade, right? So radiation is something we really need to be careful of. It's coming from non-ionizing and ionizing radiation that increases insulin resistance as well. It's attacking the nervous and endocrine system, the whole hormonal balance. That's why we're also seeing an increase in estrogen dominance. It's increasing oxidative stress, free radical damage, attacking the DNA. And then it's, of course, leading to dementia and Alzheimer's. So the body's under threat from these toxins and radiation. It's going to switch into that survival mode. Lower metabolic rate. What else happens? Lowering the metabolic rate is going to cause our bodies to naturally increase insulin resistance. Okay, why? Because insulin resistance causes fat storage. Why would we want to increase fat storage when we are under threat? Because we don't know if we're going to be eating or if we're going into a famine. That's what the body's supposed to do. It stores the toxins in the radiation in new and bigger fat cells because we've got to get these toxins out of the bloodstream. And it also lowers ATP and energy. ATP is true cellular energy. ATP is your metabolism. ATP is what helps with the fat metabolism, the protein metabolism, and converting it into healthy energy and helping with the thyroid. The radiation is coming from the smartphones, 5G, smart meters, x-rays, all of it. And the toxicity that I've mentioned, we're also under threat from our food supply. You guys, our food supply has been hijacked. So GMOs, glyphosate, lead, mercury, all of that stuff, the dental fillings, vaccinations, all of that is causing this overall stress on the body, burdening the thyroid. All of these toxins love the thyroid, right? But then it's also causing some of the foods to back up the liver. The liver already has enough stuff to deal with. If the liver's backed up, remember, where does that conversion of T4 to T3 happen? Mostly in the liver. If the liver's backed up with all of these toxins we're talking about, it can't do its job. I did one of my liver flushes last Friday. I woke up Saturday with tons of energy, and I could actually feel my thyroid jump up. Every single time I do it, I feel my thyroid. It's not just about medication and supplements. It's about taking care of your organs and your detox pathways. So that radiation is a serious threat. And okay, Hashimoto's disease, this is the most common cause of hypothyroidism, and the body's immune system is literally attacking its own thyroid gland. So that is one of the causes. The spike protein. So this has been in a lot of my talks because it is affecting everything. And this has completely hijacked our food supply and the way our body processes things as well. The spike protein is associated with the virus that we've all have dealt with. And regardless of who you are, it has infiltrated itself into our bodies, including me, right? Okay, so it causes the ACE2 receptor which is specifically affected, and that is in the liver. That is responsible for insulin regulation, hormonal balance, oxidative stress, water retention, inflammation. All of these things are symptoms of hypothyroidism. So this is only going to make things worse for the thyroid, and it's going to increase cholesterol, cause gut issues, mental illness, and that's all going to cause more stress on the body and more of a problem. Okay, so how does that affect our livers? Our livers are more backed up. Our gut is being more disrupted. We're having more leaky gut. That's going to lower our happy hormones, which is going to cause more stress, which is going to convert T4 into reverse T3. All of these things are a domino effect. Some medications can interfere with thyroid function. Lithium, used to treat bipolar disorder, and some others have been shown to contribute to hypothyroidism, so be aware of that. And then you also have pituitary gland disorders. Well, the pituitary gland is where TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, is produced. And if you've got problems with your pituitary, you're going to have problems with your thyroid function, right? Any inflammation in the body can cause issues with the thyroid. And then also, they say that age could cause or is a cause of hypothyroidism. Well, that's not your destiny. I'm a 48-year-old woman. My thyroid is functioning way better than it did when I was a teenager or in my 20s. And that's because I'm detoxing and I'm taking in the nutrients that feed my thyroid. So that does not have to be your destination. Just because you are in perimenopause or in menopause does not mean you have to gain weight, does not mean you have to lose muscle, and does not mean that your thyroid is going to slow down and your metabolism is going to slow down. Okay, thyroid hormones. Let's talk about them. TSH, we mentioned that it's a hormone produced by the pituitary gland, and that TSH plays a crucial role in regulating the thyroid, but it's not the whole story. The primary function of TSH, it's a stimulating hormone. It is not a thyroid hormone. It's a pituitary hormone. It is supposed to release T4 and T3, mostly T4. And that is where your metabolism is, right? The T4 and T3 are your thyroid hormones. The secretion of TSH is controlled by a feedback loop involving the hypothalamus, pituitary, and thyroid gland, known as the HPT axis. And when the levels of the thyroid hormones, the T3 and T4, are low, the hypothalamus will release that TRH, the thyroid releasing hormone, signaling the pituitary to release TSH. So it's going to tell your body, okay, I need more thyroid hormone. So when you have elevated levels of T3 and T4, there's a negative feedback loop that is going to lower the TSH. So measuring TSH levels, that is what most doctors do. And end of story. That's it. They think that that is going to tell the whole story. It does not. Low TSH levels might suggest an overactive thyroid, but maybe not. And so you want to test your TSH, but you also want to test all of your thyroid hormones. T4. So T4 is composed of 4 iodine atoms, and it's the most abundant thyroid hormone. It is the thyroid gland synthesizes T4 and releases it into the bloodstream. It serves as the precursor to T3. It's the inactive hormone. T4 is converted into the active T3 in various tissues, mostly the liver, but the kidneys and the gut as well. It's less potent than T3, but it can also be a reservoir that can be converted into T3 as well. Then you've got T3. T3 is what we want, free T3. T3 contains 3 atoms of iodine. It's the most potent and active form of thyroid hormone. T3 is either directly secreted by the thyroid gland or produced through the conversion of the T4. And then it is responsible for influencing cellular metabolism. It regulates energy production, heat generation, and all the things that we talked about. Helps with the hair and the skin and the water balance in the body. So you want to make sure it is that T3, free T3 is what you want to check. The secretion of the thyroid hormones is regulated by the HPT, as we talked about. So T3, T4, those are the main ones. Now there's T2, which we haven't talked about, and a lot of people don't talk about. It's a metabolite for the thyroid hormone T3, but it helps with metabolism, energy production, and helps with fat burning. It is very great. It's really helpful for energy and reducing fatigue. Now, what can go wrong? You've got your thyroid is responsible for producing the hormones, right? And you've got the T3, T4, and T2. So thyroid hormones regulate the metabolism, the body weight, by controlling the burning of the fat for the energy and the heat. And the signal they produce, virtually all growth factors in the body, including skeletal tissue growth and the development of red blood cells, nerve growth factor, and epidermal growth factor, are all caused or influenced by these thyroid hormones. Almost 90% of the hormones produced by your thyroid are in the form of the T4, that inactive. So we've talked about what could go wrong. If your liver is backed up or clogged, it's not going to convert that T4 into T3. And actually taking more T4 or a T4 medication could make your hypothyroidism worse. So the blood tests are not telling the whole truth. Just like we talked about, most physicians are only assessing the TSH, and that's not giving you the whole story, or even just the TSH and the T4. You need to know what your free T3 is, and also look at your reverse T3. So most doctors are not even evaluating the iodine levels, and the blood tests of the iodine could be very confusing and giving you false positives or false negatives. So metabolism is not a simple equation of TSH and T4. So what do you do about this? What do we do about our thyroid naturally? Now, Do some people need to go on medication? Sure. But what can you do to address the thyroid and your metabolism naturally before you go to those medications? The acceleradine iodine. Now, like I mentioned, there is a lot of controversy around iodine. I highly recommend you go to sarabantahealth.com, look up iodine, and you'll see multiple articles about where the or where the studies have gone wrong and what studies are actually showing the truth about iodine. Most iodine supplements have only 10 to 20% absorption rate because the body's so weak, right? We're hypothyroid, can't even break the iodine apart from the potassium or what other molecules are in that supplement. And the iodine's coming from a toxic source. So of course the body's going to have an adverse reaction to it. This is the only iodine that has 100% bioavailability. It is enhanced with scalar frequencies. What does that mean? This iodine is going into the cell. It's kicking out the toxins. So we're getting the toxins out, putting the iodine in. And when you use the iodine and it fills all 100 trillion cells in the body with sufficient iodine, then when you are exposed to more toxins, they're not going to have such an easy time hooking up with those cells, right? So 96% of the United States is iodine deficient. Most salts are not even iodized anymore, and it was the wrong kind. And those salts are full of microplastics anyways, right? So the thyroid gland is not going to work without iodine, and neither are all the other cells in the body, including the brain. Acceleradine is a single atom of iodine, 100% absorbed, and it's going to help detox those cells, the heavy metals, the radiation, the toxins, displace the fluoride, chlorine, bromide, and all of those things are leading to those hypothyroid symptoms. So it will also help alleviate the damage done by the spike protein. And what else has been going on in the last couple of years? I have to be very careful with what I'm talking about here, but it helps cleanse the blood so the liver can do its job in further detoxing the body from toxins related to hypothyroidism and also estrogen dominance. It helps regulate estrogen in the body. There's so many benefits to iodine. Like I said, it's the number one mineral for depression. It's the number one mineral for opening your third eye and your connection to your higher self. Remember, the thyroid is the bridge between the brain and the body. So when you open the thyroid and you give it what it needs, you are going to have a connection to your brain and your body like you've never experienced before. It's the acceleradine iodine is the most important. Accelerated thyroid. So accelerated thyroid is a creation because I've been hypothyroidism or suffered from hypothyroidism for a long time, and we wanted to create one supplement to replace 3 that I'd been taking. It is the most comprehensive natural thyroid supplement. It includes that Ayurvedic formula Kanchanara, which is known to detox and support the thyroid, help with water retention, help with cysts. And then we add in the grass-fed thyroid glandular. Then we include other nutrients, the peptides, the amino acids that are needed to support the thyroid. The combination of these two have gotten so many people off of their medication with the guidance of their doctors, of course. And then what we do with it, like we do with all of our accelerated products, we enhanced it with scalar frequencies to clear emotional and physical shock from the body, improve overall health of the thyroid, detox those halogens, the fluoride, the bromide, the heavy metals, the radiation, and then balance the thyroid and the parathyroid. They work together, okay? So the accelerated thyroid is not just going to help with your thyroid, but it helps prevent fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is the number one fastest growing disease in the United States. You do not have to be drinking alcohol to have fatty liver. It also accelerates wound healing, strengthens the connective tissues and bones, elevates your mood, strengthens your digestion, and then if you want to add in for extra fat burning and energy, the Thyroid Fixer. So this combines T2 with complementary fat burning ingredients, and it helps support the acceleridine iodine with the accelerated thyroid. Most people see an improvement in mood, skin, and hair, and fat loss. Those are the most important for your thyroid. Now, for an extra boost, the accelerated keto, which is right here, it is not a keto supplement. It helps kick you into ketosis. It increases metabolism and fat burning by increasing your ATP production. Remember, it's all about ATP. And that is going to increase your mitochondrial health. It's going to help cleanse the liver, turning that saturated fat in the liver into unsaturated fat. And remember, we want to be cleaning our liver on a daily basis. It's in the liver that T4 converts to T3. So as the liver's cleansed, the conversion is going to be optimized. It helps suppress the cravings for sugar and processed foods, which actually lower ATP, energy, and metabolism. And then as the body is kicked into ketosis and it's burning its own fat stores, the body's not stressed. A lot of times, and a lot of people talk about the fact that fasting can actually be a stressor on the body, which might slow down the metabolism. Well, when you're using the accelerated keto, the body is getting these ketones from your own fat stores and says, oh my gosh, I've got an endless supply of energy. I actually want to boost up my metabolism. I don't need to slow it down. So you do not have to be on a high-fat ketogenic diet. When the body is fueled by calories throughout the day, or if the calories are restricted, because most of you with hypothyroidism, I'm sure, have lowered your caloric intake where your body's like, I'm going to hold on to every single calorie I get because I don't know how much she's going to give me, right? Body's in survival mode, converting T4 into reverse T3. And that reverse T3 is slowing down the metabolism even more, increasing fat storage and telling the body it's under threat. So there's this cascade. So what this does is it gets you in the space where you can take advantage of intermittent fasting without stressing the body. The gut is going to use that time of fasting to heal, increasing the dopamine, the GABA, the serotonin, so that our mood is higher, right? So it's this amazing effect when you combine it with the iodine, the accelerated thyroid, accelerated keto. Now, accelerated scalar copper. So copper is an essential trace mineral. It's involved in the synthesis and metabolism of thyroid hormones. You need iron, right, in the right amounts in the body for your thyroid health. We all have enough iron in our body. The problem is the iron is not where it needs to go. Copper is the key that opens the door to let the iron get to where it needs to go. So it's helping with that. But it also helps with the enzymatic reactions. Copper serves as a cofactor for several enzymes involved in the synthesis and metabolism of the thyroid hormones. And then it's also binding to thyroid hormones, particularly thyroxine, binding globulin, a protein that transports thyroid hormones in the blood. And then it also helps with oxidative stress. Now, you also want to address the liver. The accelerated keto is helping with the liver, but the accelerated liver flush cleanse, like I mentioned, I did it on Friday. You flush hundreds to thousands of gallstones and liver stones out of the body, and you look at them in the toilet and you go, I cannot believe my liver was even functioning with all this in there. So we need the liver clean. Not just for the thyroid hormones and converting that T4 to T3, but we need it to detox the xenoestrogens, the radiation, the heavy metals, and increase the fat and the protein metabolism. It all happens in the liver. You gotta love your liver. And so the accelerated liver flush is going to improve insulin resistance, uric acid levels, improve protein and fat metabolism, help with inflammation, obviously improve thyroid hormones, detox the body of the radiation and toxins that inhibit the thyroid function, Help with fatty liver. So you've got the accelerated keto and the accelerated liver flush, both lowering fatty liver. It's going to improve the ACE2 receptor function damaged by the spike protein. So those are the most important supplements. All of them are included in the Ascent Diet Cleanse, which I take you through with private coaching, private group coaching, and we start every first Monday of the month. So make sure to look into that if you are ready for a full shift while having amazing energy during the shift. But what do you need to do outside of this? Lifestyle changes, low carb diet. Okay, so this is controversial. Low carb diet promotes lowering insulin and glucose levels. Yes, it helps with fat burning. It helps with increasing ATP production, as long as the body is not stressed. So you want to have a lower carb lifestyle, but the more important factor is the prioritizing the right protein, the wild animal protein. Because if you are constantly low carb, and so many of you have come to me and said, Sara, I'm carnivore. I've been just eating low carb for years and years and years. I look at a piece of chocolate, I gain weight. If your body is only knowing how to burn fatty acids, it's not going to know how to burn glucose. You want to have a flexible metabolism. That's why accelerated keto is so key, because it gives you that ketosis, but then you can have the carbs to work with your body to jack up your metabolism even more. So a low carb diet constantly is not good. You want to cycle in and out, and especially with your exercise regime, you can use those carbs strategically, but you want that wild animal protein. Using protein, the body uses 25% of the protein calories for digestion and heat production to get that thermic effect. You're getting those amino acids for your hair, your skin, your bones, your muscles, and it is the essential macronutrient is that wild animal protein, away from the chicken, conventionally raised beef. We're going to run out of time, so I can't get into that. But you get all those nutrients from that wild animal protein. It is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. It also stimulates that hormone CCK in the gut that signals to the brain that I don't need more food because I got all the nutrients I need. And that is only triggered by wild animal protein. You want to use that intermittent fasting, not every day, intermittently, so that you're keeping your metabolism up. Too much and too long of intermittent fasting, especially women in menopause, will actually slow down your metabolism. So you want to play around with it. If you're insulin resistant, then you want to do it, and you can do it for 60 days. Get your body lowering its insulin resistance. Use the supplements to increase that ATP and take advantage of that intermittent fasting. Avoid the processed foods, guys. Throw them out. They have no place in the category of food. It is poison. It increases high uric acid levels. That's going to increase insulin resistance, fat storage, and reduce metabolism. It actually steals ATP from the body. It's literally lowering your ATP and your energy. Uric acid triggers survival switch, slowing the metabolism, increasing reverse T3, encouraging that fat storage, oxidative stress. Blocked release of fatty acids from storage fat further reduces ATP production while promoting fat production. There's so many reasons that these processed foods are slowing down your metabolism. So reach for those whole potatoes or foods that don't have labels on them. Failing ATP levels signal an emergency response. Lower metabolism, increased reverse T3 even further, increasing your hunger for more processed foods. So you can see where this goes. So you want to eliminate those processed foods. Wow, that was a lot of information. There's so much more. If you have questions, ask in the group chat in Telegram, right? Thanks for joining me today. If I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website, SaraBantaHealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you and join that free group coaching. There is no downside. Ask your questions and learn on a daily basis. You will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey, in addition to truly taking control of your health. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products and on over 100 channels under Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. My goal is to reach everyone on earth. Please help me with eyes to see and ears to hear my message of healing. So I need your help with that goal. Share this podcast with a few of your friends who probably are suffering from hypothyroidism. Join us every week, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and you can find all the supplements and the information at sarabantahealth.com. Use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.